Once, in the old countries of Europe, there was a man with a blue beard. It was not the blue of a summer sky, it was not the blue of a banner or a flower or a painted chapel ceiling. It was the blue of a bruise fading into shadow. It was the blue of cold iron under moonlight. It was the blue of something human that had gone wrong. He was wealthy, and in fairy tales, wealth is never a small detail. Wealth changes the air around a man. It makes people forgive what should frighten them. It turns suspicion into bad manners. It gives ugliness a carriage, a title, and a dining room large enough to silence conscience. Bluebeard had land, silver, horses, servants, tapestries, polished mirrors, carved doors, and halls that seemed to go farther than any house should go. But people often do not listen when wealth is speaking louder. That is one of the old jokes of civilization. Put enough gold around a warning sign, and half the town will call it decor. Bluebeard wanted another wife. He did not come like a beggar. He came like a man accustomed to gates opening. Families received him because refusing him carried its own danger. Mothers smiled with dry mouths. Fathers measured property against instinct. Young women looked at his strange beard and looked away. One young woman eventually entered his orbit. She was not stupid. Fairy tales are often misread by people who mistake danger for moral simplicity. She knew he was frightening. She knew the rumors. She knew there was something wrong with the man. But she also saw the house, the servants, the security, the shining tables, the life that would place her above worry. Temptation rarely arrives as pure evil. It arrives as relief. Bluebeard invited her and her family to his estate. The castle was magnificent. Candles trembled in silver holders. Music drifted through corridors. Wine gleamed in cups like dark rubies. Servants moved through the rooms with that careful silence found in houses where everyone knows more than they may say. Curtains fell in deep folds beside windows streaked with rain, and the young woman saw a life broader than the one she had known. There is a moment in many old tales when the soul stands before a threshold. The threshold looks like a door, but it is really a bargain. The young woman crossed it. She married Bluebeard. The wedding must have been grand. Such weddings usually are. The flowers must have been chosen with care. The tables must have groaned under the feast. Guests must have laughed too loudly, which is the common sound of people trying to drown out the obvious. Bluebeard must have smiled. The bride must have wondered whether fear had exaggerated him. Perhaps the Bluebeard was only an oddity. Perhaps the missing wives had explanations. Perhaps the house was not a trap. Perhaps the mind, when surrounded by silk, learns to stop asking vulgar questions. For a little while, she lived as mistress of the house. She walked through galleries where portraits watched her. She opened cabinets and found jewels. She touched linens fine enough to make ordinary cloth seem like punishment. There were rooms for music, rooms for feasting, rooms for sitting, rooms for sleeping, rooms whose purpose seemed to be nothing more than proving that Bluebeard could afford them. Then one day, Bluebeard gave her a ring of keys. There were great iron keys, small silver keys, heavy keys with ornate heads, and little keys that seemed made for doors almost too private to mention. He told her that while he was away, she could open every room in the castle. She could enjoy all of it. She could walk where she pleased, unlock what she liked, and inspect the whole domain now placed under her care. Then he gave one command. There was a small room at the end of a passage. She must not open that door. Do not open that door. After this, Bluebeard left. The command remained behind him. That is the genius of it. The man departed, but his will stayed in the house like a second master. His wife had all the keys. She had permission to enter every room except one. At first she tried to enjoy the freedom she had been given. She walked through the rooms. She opened chests. She admired cabinets, plates, mirrors, gowns, and tapestries. Yet every permitted room became dull because one room had been forbidden. The forbidden room grew inside her. It expanded until it seemed larger than the castle. It sat with her at meals. It followed her through galleries. It placed a cold finger on her thoughts as she tried to sleep. The key to that room became heavier than all the others. 5:40. At last, she went down the passage. The air changed. Old houses know how to become quiet when they are about to reveal themselves. She stood before the plain door, placed the little key into the lock, and turned it. Inside, she saw the bodies of Bluebeard's former wives. Some versions say they hung along the walls. Some say the floor was slick with blood. Some say the women had been murdered and kept there like trophies. The details vary because horror wears local clothing. The truth does not vary. The room revealed the house. Every feast had been bait. Every candle had been stagecraft. Every polished table had reflected a lie. Every act of welcome had been arranged around that hidden chamber. The house was not a home. It was a machine for consuming women. The wife trembled and the key fell from her hand. When she picked it up, it was stained with blood. She tried to clean it, but the blood would not come off. She wiped it with cloth. She scrubbed it. She hid it. The stain remained. The key had become a witness, and witnesses are troublesome things in wicked houses. Bluebeard returned. He asked for the keys. She handed them over, but she hesitated over the little one. He saw the hesitation. Men like Bluebeard notice fear as hawks notice movement in grass. He demanded the key. She gave it to him. He saw the blood. Now he knew that she knew. The mask fell from the house. He told her she would die. 7:45. She asked for time to pray. This delay saved her. Her sister watched from the tower for their brothers, who were riding toward the castle. Again and again the wife asked whether anyone was coming. At first the sister saw only the road, only dust, only the distance pretending to be empty. Bluebeard grew impatient below. The blade drew nearer. Then the sister saw riders. The brothers arrived. They broke into the castle and killed Bluebeard. The wife lived. The hidden room was opened, named, and stripped of its power. The castle that had once belonged to the murderer passed into other hands. That is the tale. It is old, brutal, and terribly clear. A woman enters a beautiful house. She receives many keys. She is denied one room. The forbidden room contains the truth of the whole castle. The key remembers what she has seen. She survives because help comes from outside the house. Now listen closely. Bluebeard has changed his architecture. 9:10. The modern castle does not need towers. It does not need servants. It does not need a private road through dark trees. It does not even need a man with a strange beard. It only needs a screen. It only needs a profile. It only needs the quiet glow of romantic possibility in a lonely room. The dating app is Bluebeard's castle, remade for the age of soft glass. It offers access, variety, mystery, control, and pleasure. It asks for your face, your location, your age, your habits, your height, your politics, your religion, your favorite songs, your best pictures, your private jokes, your charm compressed into prompts, and your hope that someone, somewhere, will finally recognize you. It feels harmless because it feels ordinary. That may be the most remarkable thing about our age. We have placed some of the most intimate human experiences inside tools designed with the emotional texture of ordering takeout. Love, longing, rejection, attraction, courtship, vanity, shame, and desire have been poured into little rectangles that live beside weather apps and grocery coupons. The absurdity should make us laugh, but only in the way a man laughs when the floorboards groan beneath him. At first, the app feels like power. There are faces everywhere. A man may sit alone after work and look through women he would never meet in daily life. A woman may sit in her car and receive more attention in 20 minutes than her grandmother encountered in a season of dances. Each profile seems like a door. Behind one door there might be dinner. Behind another, a flirtation. Behind another, a marriage. Behind another, misery wearing a good shirt. The app gives the user the feeling of choice. That is its first enchantment. The old village had limits. A person met others through family, church, work, school, neighborhood, weddings, and the occasional friend who believed himself a matchmaker because he once introduced two people who tolerated each other at a barbecue. The pool was smaller, and the gossip was thicker. Yet the people had weight. They came attached to households, histories, reputations, and consequences. The dating app keeps the appetite and removes the village. It gives the user access without witness. That bargain is more dangerous than it appears. The old village could be narrow, cruel, meddlesome, and unfair. It could punish odd people, shy people, poor people, wounded people, or anyone who failed to fit local custom. We should not paint it gold and pretend every parish dance was Eden with lemonade. Yet the village understood something that the app cannot understand. Courtship is not merely a private transaction between two appetites. It is a social passage into a shared life. Marriage, or even serious romance, changes more than two people. It changes households, friendship circles, future children, duties, holidays, money, worship, work, and the shape of ordinary days. That is why old societies surrounded courtship with rituals, families, customs, reputations, and warnings. Some of those warnings were foolish, some were life-saving. Both kinds often arrive from the same ant, which is why human civilization remains a difficult machine to maintain. The app removes much of that surrounding structure. It places the person alone before a catalog of partially visible strangers. The profile becomes the first gate. The photograph becomes the first argument. The prompt becomes the little banner hung over the soul. Everyone knows this is too little information. Everyone proceeds anyway because the castle is bright and the doors keep opening. Another swipe. Another. This is where the Bluebeard pattern begins to show. The castle gives access, but it keeps one room hidden. The user may see profiles, send messages, change photos, answer prompts, buy premium, adjust filters, and swipe until the thumb becomes an exhausted little bureaucrat. But the user may not fully enter the locked room where the system decides who appears, who disappears, who receives attention, who is buried, who is revived with a notification, and who is quietly made to feel undesirable. That hidden room is not full of bodies, it is full of data. Modern horror keeps tidier floors. The app sees more than the user intends to reveal. The user writes a profile, but behavior writes a second profile beneath it. A man says he wants a serious relationship, but the app sees which images stop him cold. A woman says she wants kindness, but the app sees which men make her return to the conversation. Someone says faith matters, but the app sees whether faith changes the swipe. Someone says drama is exhausting, and somewhere in the machinery, drama receives a small crown. A dating profile is the official portrait. Behavior is the diary dropped behind the chair. The app watches pauses, swipes, messages, replies, silences, time of day, distance settings, photo changes, profile edits, subscriptions, boosts, and returns after disappointment. It observes desire at the level of motion. It does not need to understand love. It only needs to predict where the hand will go next. That is the locked room. It is the chamber where longing becomes legible to a machine. Not because the machine is wise, and not because the machine has entered the mystery of the human heart. It has done something colder. It has found patterns in the outer movements of longing. It knows when people are lonely. It knows when they are discouraged. It knows when hope has dimmed enough that a small spark might keep them inside the castle. This should unsettle us. Desire is not trivial. It is one of the most dangerous and holy forces in human life. It can build homes, ruin families, inspire poetry, start wars, produce saints, produce fools, and persuade otherwise steady adults to send messages that should have been locked in a cellar until morning. Desire is not a toy. It is fire in a velvet bag. When that fire is placed inside a system built around attention, ranking, prediction, and paid visibility, the human being must move carefully. 1735. The dating app does not need to be evil to change the user. Repetition changes people. One swipe is nothing. 1,000 swipes become training. The eye learns speed. The thumb learns disposal. The heart learns to hold itself back because another face is always coming. This is one of the quiet wounds of app-based courtship. It trains people to confuse evaluation with discernment. Evaluation is quick. Discernment is slow. Evaluation looks at a profile and sorts. Discernment encounters a person over time and learns what the profile could not contain. Evaluation asks whether the visible fragment pleases me. Discernment asks whether this person can be trusted with reality. A person is thick with reality. A profile is thin. A person has a voice, a smell, a nervous laugh, a family history, debts, duties, scars, private meals, private prayers, old embarrassments, and a way of treating people who cannot benefit them. A profile has photos, prompts, and enough curated charm to make everyone sound like a travel brochure written during a mild identity crisis. The profile may begin the encounter. It cannot bear the full weight of it. When the profile becomes the person, the soul grows impatient with humanity itself. The user begins to discard people for small signs, some reasonable and some absurd. He used the wrong phrase. She had the wrong angle. He seemed too eager. She seemed too serious. He mentioned hiking, which the dating economy has apparently placed under federal review. The app trains the user to keep judging, because judgment is the motion that keeps the castle alive. Rejection also changes shape inside the app. In older courtship, rejection usually had a scene, a conversation, a letter, a dance declined, a family refusal, a door closed, a painful sentence spoken by someone with a face. It hurt, but it happened somewhere. On apps, rejection often becomes weather. No match, no reply, no explanation, no voice, no face, no event to mourn. The user is left with the emotional pattern of rejection and none of the human structure that makes rejection understandable. This is corrosive. Men begin to feel invisible. Women begin to feel surrounded and still alone. Everyone begins to manage hope like a leaking roof. 2100. The commercial layer deepens the spell. Dating apps often offer paid features, more visibility, more control, more signals, more filters, more chances to be noticed. Some of these tools may help. A tool can be useful without being innocent. The danger lies in the promise beneath the button. Tap here and be seen, pay here and be chosen, upgrade here and escape the fog. That promise is ancient. It has appeared as love potions, charms, perfumes, beauty creams, dance lessons, gym memberships purchased in January, and jackets bought by men who believed tweed would supply a missing personality. The app version is cleaner. It carries itself like software rather than magic, which is how modern magic prefers to dress. The moral danger is that loneliness becomes a market signal. The loneliest user may become the easiest customer. The discouraged user may be tempted to pay for hope. The unseen user may pay for visibility. The rejected user may pay for another entrance into the same hall of mirrors. This does not make every platform a villain twirling a mustache in a boardroom. Life is rarely that theatrical, though one suspects certain boardrooms are trying. It means the incentives deserve suspicion. A dating app that helps everyone find lasting love quickly has solved a human problem and created a business problem. A dating app that keeps people hopeful, active, uncertain, and occasionally paying has found a more durable rhythm. That rhythm shapes courtship. It places romance inside a cycle of anticipation, reward, disappointment, adjustment, and return. The cycle feels familiar because it resembles many other digital systems. Social media does it with approval. Shopping apps do it with desire. Games do it with progress. Dating apps do it with the most tender prize of all, the hope of being wanted. This is why Bluebeard is the right tale. His castle offers luxury, access, and a sense of arrival, but the house is organized around what the bride is not allowed to see. The dating app offers possibility, flirtation, and access, but the system is organized around a hidden chamber of measurement. 2440. The answer is not panic. Panic is a poor builder. It throws up crooked walls and then complains about the roof. The answer is also not theatrical purity. Some people will use dating apps and some will meet good spouses through them. A cracked bell can still ring. The question is whether the user enters the castle as a guest with a map or as a captive dazzled by chandeliers. The first act of sanity is to name the castle. A dating app is a design system. It is shaped by company incentives, interface choices, behavioral data, and habits of attention. It may help you meet someone, but it may also train you to judge quickly, return compulsively, and confuse being seen with being known. The second act is to set a boundary before desire starts negotiating. Do not decide your limits while the app is already glowing in your hand. That is like deciding how much wine to drink while holding the third glass and listening to a fiddler with questionable legal counsel. Decide beforehand when and why you will use the app. A tool must live inside a boundary, or it becomes an environment. An environment, given enough time, becomes a master. The third act is to move from profile to person as soon as prudence allows. A profile can open a gate, but it should not become the whole garden. If there is mutual interest, move toward a brief call, a public meeting, or a clear ending. Endless messaging can feel intimate while keeping both people protected from the risks that make intimacy real. A voice reveals more than a prompt. A face across a table reveals more than a photograph. A person's treatment of a waiter may reveal more than an entire paragraph about kindness. Write down what you are seeking before the app teaches you to seek what it rewards. Write down the kind of life you want to build, the duties you are willing to carry, the virtues you require, the flaws you can endure, and the flaws that would destroy peace. Then write what you are prepared to offer. That final part is medicine with a bitter edge. The customer asks what he can get. The serious person asks what he must become. 2820. Protect your privacy. Do not give strangers your exact routines, workplace details, home area, or identifying information before trust is earned. Photos can reveal more than faces. Street signs speak. Uniforms speak. Badges speak. The frame certificate in the background has apparently been trying to enter the conversation for years. Protect your emotional state. Do not swipe when despair is driving. Do not buy boosts after rejection. Do not rewrite your profile while angry. Do not open the app simply to see whether you still matter. You matter before the match. You matter after the silence. You matter when nobody has clicked anything. A human being is not a notification waiting to happen. Bring back witnesses. Tell a trusted friend when you are meeting someone. Let people who know you speak into your patterns. Their counsel may irritate you, which sometimes means it has touched the correct bruise. Bluebeard's wife survives because help comes from outside the house. That is the old wisdom. Do not date entirely inside the system. Then thicken your life. Go where people can see more of you than a profile. Serve somewhere. Attend church or parish life if that belongs to your faith. Host dinners, take classes, join a choir, volunteer. Say yes to introductions from people who know your character. A real life gives romance a place to land. A thin life asks an app to provide meaning, community, confidence, attraction, conversation, and marriage through a 6-inch screen. That is too much cargo for a glowing rectangle. Even the phone seems tired. The world is still full of rooms that do not belong to Bluebeard. Kitchens, church halls, workshops, bookstores, weddings, back porches, walking paths, dinner tables where somebody's aunt is still playing general, God bless her command structure. Bluebeard teaches us that the hidden room matters. The forbidden chamber reveals the moral meaning of the whole castle. In the dating app castle, that chamber contains the data of desire. It contains patterns of longing, avoidance, attraction, rejection, loneliness, and hope. It contains the private arithmetic of who sees whom and when. It contains the strange modern habit of asking a machine to introduce us to love, then wondering why love begins to feel mechanical. The old fairy tale gives us a bloody key. That key is knowledge. Once you know the castle has a hidden room, you must live differently inside it. Use the app if you must. Use it carefully. Use it with a guarded heart and a steady hand. Use it as a gate, not a world. Use it to find a person, then leave the machine behind as soon as decency allows. Because the goal is not a match. The goal is a face across the table, a voice without a filter, a walk after dinner, a household built by repeated acts, and a love that becomes heavier, warmer, stranger, and more demanding than anything a profile could hold. Bluebeard still builds castles. Some are made of stone, some are made of code. But the human soul was not made to live in someone else's locked house.